Hey students, so we are progressing through our sociology knowledge, and the next thing we're going to talk about, I'm just going to give you a brief introduction here about the theoretical perspectives, but let's make a really quick rundown of what you should already have in your notes. So you should already have all of the week 1 lecture notes in your notebook, in your computer files, or however it is that you keep your notes, and then all of the week 2 lectures you should take notes on sequentially, and keep track of those notes, because we're not just here for YouTube fame or anything. We're here to learn, and you're going to have test questions. You need this information for your quizzes each week. You need this information to figure out what you're going to write a reaction paper for each week. And the sociological imagination is one of the topics that we covered at the end of last week, and that is a primary focus of what you need to work toward developing over the course of the semester. And my job is to help you get the knowledge and practice that you need in order to work toward developing your sociological imagination. It's pretty easy to memorize a definition for it, but it's less easy. It's harder, I guess I will say, to actually apply your sociological imagination and have enough information about macro scale forces that affect micro scale life experiences. We have to develop and accumulate that information over the course of the semester. So that's what we will be doing from now until the end of the term. But in the meantime, we have 3 other course learning outcomes, and really the focus of these next few lectures is on course learning outcome number 2, which is about applying the theoretical perspectives to different issues, different social issues that we're going to focus on this semester. And this CLO2, course learning outcome number 2, which focuses on the theoretical perspectives and application of them, helps you develop your sociological imagination. So please never put those notes behind you. Always remember about how the Industrial Revolution changed the shape of society, and so macro scale social forces changed, so micro scale life experiences changed. Remember social facts and all of those things that you should have in your notes already, because they apply to these lectures also. Essentially, we are telling a story from day 1 until day last, and your notes should reflect that story, and you should see the connection among those different sections that we have in your notes from week 1 to week 16. Okay, so this lecture is super important for the very first project that we're going to do. The sociological imagination stuff that we began last week, it's pretty darn important. We began it in our first week. That is going to be assessed. You're going to have project 4 way at the end of the semester, and that's when you're going to be able to demonstrate whether you have indeed developed a sociological imagination this semester. This one, though, the theoretical perspectives are some of the foundational knowledge that you need to be able to have in your backpack, in your sociology toolkit, in order to begin that progression of accumulating knowledge so you can ultimately demonstrate your sociological imagination. So project 1 is, I usually give it to you pretty early in the semester so you can see what it's all about, and it's due maybe week 4, somewhere around there. I'll announce the due date. It'll be very clear. You won't have to guess anything, but this information in particular is where you're going to get the bare bones of what you need to consider when you're producing the work that Project 1 asks you to produce. So, in sociology, we know that it's a systematic study of society and human interaction. And the systematic word means that we use the scientific method. So I've already told you that you can rely on the data that we are examining that's in our textbook, or that I offer you in web articles or something when I point something out and I ask you to look at this statistic or this trend. You don't have to doubt that the way this information was collected was accurate and appropriate and valid and reliable, to use those research words. It's valid and reliable data that we're presenting. However, when we ask questions of that data, we in sociology and other disciplines also, we are allowed to, if not required, we are required to apply one or another of the theoretical perspectives that we're about to talk about, so that we can formulate the questions that we ask of that data. We need to have questions that we want the data to reveal the answers to us. Whether the answer is yes, your question is on the right track, or no, your question was way off base, we have to have a base point to start when we ask those questions and formulate those questions. So they are called the theoretical perspectives. A theory is a commonly accepted logical sequence of explanations for why something is the way that it is. So there are lots of things that are called theories, and some people will say, well, it's just a theory. Well, a theory is maybe not necessarily proved beyond the shadow of a doubt, to use a legal term, but it makes enough sense. A theory makes enough sense to the majority of the scholars and the researchers in that field to be accepted as reliable and valid and okay to use. You're not going to end up with a bunch of hodgepodge malarkey if you use this logical sequence of explanations, a theory that is accepted. And the perspective is your point of view. So a theoretical perspective, we have 4 of them that we're going to talk about, but Project 1 asks you to pick one of 3 of the first ones that we're going to discuss. And I'll tell you when we get to the 4th one why. We're not going to try to use that in an introductory class. But there are 4 common theoretical perspectives, so 4 points of view that are very accepted and acceptable among social science circles and sociologists in particular. And you are required to kind of pick. It's normal, and you should be attracted to one more than another. And usually if one person is attracted to this one, another person is attracted to that one, they typically don't agree about the information that the data reveals. It's kind of like, and you can apply it to politics, but it's kind of like a political party. If you have this particular political philosophy or this particular political philosophy, you probably aren't going to agree on much. And that's how it is in sociology. A lot of researchers, rarely do researchers agree, even if we both have the same theory. A lot of times we'll come to a different conclusion. But those conclusions are usually accepted as something that people should at least consider being valid, because it wouldn't be a theory if it wasn't a logical explanation of how things probably are, and therefore it's commonly accepted. And so that's what the theoretical perspectives are. And in the next quick video, I'm going to just give you a brief overview of what those 4 theoretical perspectives are. And then the next video lessons are going to go into a little bit more depth into the 3 that you really need to focus on so that you can ace your first project of the semester. So stay tuned for another video. Go back to your Blackboard weekly folder and click on that next video in line, and it'll take you right to the next video in the sequence, and I will see you there.